I'm going to talk to you today about stretching, and I've got a few really good stretches that I think will help you keep your body in better shape. Now, when someone comes to me and asks me what should I do for stretching, I'll say always be gentle. It's impossible to be too gentle. There's a risk for injury with stretching. Stretching is exercise, always a risk of injury when you're exercising. So please always be gentle. Second thing I'll say is focus on your spine, because if the spine is stronger, happier, healthier, more flexible, then everything else becomes easier. Eating is easier when your spine is healthy. Breathing, sleeping, walking, sitting. So I suggest and recommend that you would always focus on your spine. If you have only 5 minutes, I'm not saying 5 minutes is enough. I would suggest at least 2 or 3 times a week, 20 or 30 minutes each stretch session, and have it as your exercise session. You know, you can do it while watching TV. You can even do a few minutes when you're waiting for the bus. So, focusing on your spine, here's what I would say. Your spine moves in 6 directions: forwards, backwards, side, side, twist, twist. Okay? So, I'll go through those with you right now, and you can do these standing. I'll do these standing first of all, but you can also do it on hands and knees, and you can do it while you're lying on the ground. But let's first focus on standing. So the first one, let's just bend forward, putting the spine in flexion. So, starting position, your toes are pointing forward, your feet are about hip width apart, and you always want to have a tiny bend in your knees. First thing is you bring your chin to your chest and you curl your spine, coming all the way down until your hands reach the ground. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see my knees are bent. If I put them straight, there's a lot of tension on the back of the knee, and sooner or later, very likely you're going to injure. So keep those knees a little bit bent, everything relaxed, and your head facing down, chin on your chest. Okay, here's the basic standing forward bend. So, coming back up, you want to keep your chin on your chest until the very last movement. So I come up, I am uncurling my spine. You can imagine stacking vertebrae on top of vertebrae. And then when I'm almost fully up, that's when I bring my chin up. Now, there's some people, I'll say roughly 20%, maybe more, that can't reach the ground, in which case you would need to raise the ground. You can use a stool, you can use a step. Many houses have staircases. Go to the bottom one and do your forward bend going to that first step. Here I have a stool that I made, and I can show you. So you'd have your stool, which is raising up the ground, and you start up the same way, chin to chest, and you would continue to reach the stool. You want your hands touching the ground so that you can take a bit of weight off the legs. Some of the weight is in my hands. Okay? And you'd want to come up the same way. So that's the basic standing forward bend. I'll teach you some variations. So let's go through it. Chin to chest, coming down. Toes point forward, knees are bent. Basic standing forward bend. Some options for you. You can move the pelvis up and down. You can see that my pelvis is moving. What I'm doing, very simple. I'm straightening one leg and bending the other. Okay, I'll go sideways again so you can see. So one leg straightens while the other one bends. It's not fully straight. There's still a tiny bend.
And then you just alternate. Really good for mobilizing, moving your pelvis. So that's one variation. Another variation is you wrap your arms around your knees. And then once I'm wrapped, I'll gently straighten my legs and I'll feel a nice pull right between the shoulder blades. And you want to balance things out by alternating which hand you have, which arm is on top or the bottom. Another variation is with the forearms behind the calves. Maybe I need to go sideways again. So my hands are here near my heels. My forearms are in line pretty much with my calves. And here's another stretch. If you want to go a little bit deeper, stand on those fingers. This is only if you're really flexible. And then try and get your forearms behind your calves. You can see I'm shaking a little bit. I'm not the most flexible. And another variation is you take these two fingers and wrap them around the big toe. And you want to be gentle as you pull your head closer to the ground. Trying to keep relaxed. And since I've been down here for a while, there's a lot of blood in my brain. You can see that my heart is above my head, so it doesn't have to go against gravity. And I say that because some people have low blood pressure. So I'd want to come like this, let everything even out. And then when I think I'm ready, I'll go back into the bend and come up as I normally would. Okay. How long you hold any of these stretches, excuse me if that made a noise, depends on you. The longer you hold a stretch, the more time that the muscle will be in its fully extended longest position. So you can think it's easier for blood and oxygen to get to that entire muscle. So the longer you hold a stretch, if it's not a strenuous stretch, usually the better. Making sure you're gentle and, like I've said a few times maybe, always stay relaxed with the breathing. Try and bring the breathing down into your belly. So that's the forward bend. Now the back bend. One of the easiest ways is because you're going to be supporting some of the upper body with your arms. So I'm going to put my arms on the top of my hips. If you're unable to have the fingers up, you can do it with the fingers down. Okay? Or somehow put your arms where they're comfortable so that they can take some of the weight of the upper body. The other thing that's very important to minimize chance of injury is to keep the abdominals tight. Keeping this wall tight will minimize the curve, the compression that gets created with a back bend in the lower spine. So always keep this wall tight to protect the spine from arching too much and compressing those vertebrae at the bottom. So my abs are always tight when I do this. You can think maybe to pull your belly button towards your spine. So in the same position, toes point forward, feet are about hip width, and knees I like to always have a tiny bit bent. You're going to put your hands where it's comfortable. Abs are tight, and you're going to lift your chin and come into a back bend. I'm not moving very far. Turn sideways so you can see my abs are tight, lifting my chin, looking at the sky. This one you can't hold for very long because it's quite strenuous. And you want to make sure your body's ready for the back bend so you're always protecting. Other variations, this one's a little bit harder. You're going to have only one hand on the back and you bring the other arm. holding the weight, abs are tight, come back into this kind of back bend. Okay? So hand on the back, however it's comfortable for you. And doing your back bend, abs tight. Okay? Or you can just do a simple back bend without including the arms. Arms by your side, belly button to spine, protect the lower back, and look up to the ceiling wherever you are, or the sky. Okay, now if you feel a bit of compression, something's kind of squished, you can gently open it back up by returning to the forward bend. All right, so that's the first two. The second two are side to side. One of the newest ones I have discovered is just by putting your hands right here. For some people, this is already a good stretch. I can feel the stretch. So here, you can stay here for a minute if you're feeling a good stretch. But let's do the side bend. My feet are together, my knees are bent. I'm gonna first go to the left side. My right hand is holding my left elbow. And here's my side bend. So what I'm doing is I am stretching the ribs and the spine. And I'm also feeling a small stretch in my right hip. Just want to make sure that you don't go forwards or backwards with either of the shoulders. You can imagine there's a wall right in front of you and a wall right behind you, preventing you from moving the shoulders. I'm going to balance out with the other side, getting myself ready. And then I'll go to the right side, trying to let my left hip move outwards slightly. Feeling a nice stretch in the left side of the ribs and also this area right here. Okay, so that's one version of the side bend. Another one I've known for many years. I like to connect my hands like this. You see index fingers pointing up. My biceps are by my ears. And I do the same thing. Now this one I like because this arm I need to pull up to minimize compression right here. And this arm I pull up because it's helping me to stay as long as possible. And then I'd balance, do the same thing on the other side. You can even switch your fingers. And then I'll bend now to the right side. Feeling a nice pull also behind my left shoulder blade. And coming up and relax. Okay, so that was 4. Now we have 5 and 6, which is twisting. So arms are up. This is one way to do it. Arms are up like a T. And the most important thing, I think, is to keep your hips pointing forward. Okay, you're rotating at the shoulder. So here I go, rotating, trying to keep my hips pointing forward. Shoulders are down and relaxed. Trying to keep my arms in line, not one arm here. So arms in line. You can use a mirror in the beginning especially. And I'll twist my head over my left shoulder to finish off the twist. And come back to center. And balancing, same thing, other side. Keeping those hips pointing forward, rotating at the shoulder, looking over that back hand. And staying with the breathing. And coming back. And one other variation I'll show you for twisting. Right hand on the left shoulder. Left hand on the back of the right hip. Same as before, keeping the hips pointing forward. I just rotate at the shoulder. And now I'll look over my left shoulder. Okay, coming back to center, switching the arms, left hand on right shoulder, right hand on the left hip, feet together, knees a little bit bent, hips stay pointing forward as much as possible. And now I'll look over that right shoulder. Okay, trying to bring the breath as deep as possible. One bonus of doing this kind of stretching, and probably most kinds of stretching, is when you're bending the body in all these directions, you are also massaging the internal organs. So you're kind of squeezing them, pressing them like a sponge. What that does is it keeps everything fresh. Life is stressful, and a lot of the stress goes into our organs. So if we can keep everything alive by squishing and squeezing regularly, then your organs will be healthier, which in turn keeps everything healthier.